That's my number one thing. So I'm gonna let you do one.
I think that my like three things that I look for when I go into a super movie is, like you said, respect for the original characters. It doesn't have to be an exact translation, because comic stories, for the most part, I don't think translate panel for panel to film. But it has to have respect for the characters that we're looking at. I have to be able to look at them and say, this is that character. They're being treated well. That emotion is part of it. I need to watch it and feel. I like to feel like I am motivated to be a better person by watching it. Like, I want to look at someone doing something and say, like, what have I done today that makes me feel good?
Right.
You know, what did I do for someone else today? And I want to feel like doing good things when I walk out. And the third thing for me is spectacle. Yes. I want that. And, like, I want to, not just in, like, the fight scenes, in the costumes, in the set design, in, like, everything. I want to be taken to another place and to feel like I'm in that world for a while.
Yeah. And for me, what really sunk me into comics, so, like, just as a point of reference, up until the summer of me going into college, I wasn't into comic books at all. Like, anything related, I had only ever watched a TV show of or a movie of, and that was all of, like, I liked X-Men, but I liked specifically the movie X-Men and the cartoon X-Men, and that was it. Like, that, if you asked me anything about the comics, I couldn't tell you. I'd never picked up an X-Men comic in my life at that point. And the movie that really sold me on comics was the first Thor movie, because the opening scene, and they're fighting, and you see all the characters, and then they go to Asgard, and they celebrate Thor's victory. I felt like I was blown away by seeing Asgard. Yeah. I was so blown away, and, like, seeing the Bifrost and everything, and I was like, holy shit, like, this is incredible. That was a whole other world. And they really went into that. Like, they cared, like, they cared that this was Norse mythology. They talked like they did in the comics. Not that I knew that at the time, but, like, they talked differently. And I was like, oh, they talked like they would if they were, you know, the Norse gods as magic aliens. Right. And, like, that's what they were, magic aliens. And that, it was, like, crazy. It was awesome. Yeah. And, like, they really went into, in that movie, like, the vague idea of the realms, which kind of seemed different than, like, just them being in space, which was really cool. And they talked about that in the movie, and it really blew me away. And I was like, wow, Thor's the best. And I, like, got really into comics at that point. And first it was Thor, and then I got into Batman after that, because that was the other big recommended one. And then just over time I got into it. But that first Thor movie really took me away. And I feel like until Thor Ragnarok, they didn't do that with Thor. There's only like one movie in between, but the other ones also where he, like, is featured or whatever were the same. But anyway, that's just, so yeah, it's the spectacle. This is the point of me saying this, is that for me, Thor 1 in that first phase of Marvel, like, blew me away, threw me into the world, and I really got that experience. Yeah. And after I got into Thor, I realized that they were true to the character. They truly feel like it had that otherworldly, regal atmosphere, and I think Kenneth Branagh did a really good job. Like, I make fun of Kenneth Branagh a lot. I'm also a Shakespeare guy, so, like, I've seen Kenneth Branagh films, and of course I make the jests and laugh at him. But he did a really good job, and he in general, I do like his stuff. I make fun of him because he's cheesy, but I like him. And just for a brief moment, the understanding that must have taken place in the people working on Marvel at the time to say, we're going to get this director who's known for his Shakespeare works and hand him Thor. He's the right choice. What the fuck happened? Yeah. How is that the same person that said, oh yeah, the Russo brothers, they can do Infinity War? Like, and Thor 2.
And Thor 2. Right, like, what? At some point there was a disconnect. I'm not going to go off about this right now. But But just in general, part of what makes a good superhero movie is understanding who the right person to hand the movie off to is, and, like, that not every superhero movie is the same. Like, the Russo brothers were great choices for Civil War and for Winter Soldier. Yes. But, like, at some point you have to look at what this specific movie is going to be and pick a director for that.
Oh my God, they made the same mistake DC made. They Chris Nolan'd it.
Yeah, they Chris Nolan'd it. They were like, oh yeah, this worked for a couple of movies. What if it worked for all of the movies? And it doesn't. And like, the thing that bugs me is that they didn't feel the consequences. DC, it took them a long time, but they learned a lesson.
Eventually.
And they made Aquaman, which was better than Endgame, fight me. Was a better movie than Endgame. And I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, Marvel is for idiots who only like the Marvel formula, and Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice was a good movie. Like, no, that's not me. But Aquaman was a great movie.
I will concede that Aquaman was a great movie. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'd go that far myself. I'm not going to shame you for that opinion, because honestly, it's valid to have that opinion. Mm-hmm. I don't think I personally would go that far. I don't want to alienate everybody who's listening to this.
We have to have some people still listen to us after this.
I'm just kidding, but I agree. I agree that Aquaman really brought a lot to the table for DC, and I feel like they're really taking steps. Well, at that point, we're taking steps in the right direction. Yeah. We'll see how that pans out.
Yeah, Wonder Woman. I didn't see Shazam, but I've heard good things about Shazam, so I'll have to check that out at some point.
Eventually, I'll watch Shazam.
Yeah, Wonder Woman 80 whatever.
1980 something.
1980 something is going to be the one for me that like I decide whether or not they actually learned the correct lesson from Aquaman, because like that has the potential to be really good.
Yes, it does, and I'm personally very excited for it.
Yeah,
but So the Chris Nolan's, the Marvel movies, and then the Phase 2 had the issue of, they took the same issue that Fantastic Four 2 took, where they had, they went balls to the wall and like, we made the superhero movies about the superheroes that we did. And
right.
We just, this is the source material, and we copied it onto film. And then they were like, but now we have to make everything gritty and realistic, and we're going to spend Thor 2 not anywhere and on sad gray planets. And Iron Man 2 has got to be angstier.
Iron Man 2 was Phase 1.
Oh, that's right.
Iron Man 3 was Phase 2.
Yeah, but Iron Man 2 was still affected by this. No, I guess not.
No, Iron Man 2 was pre-Captain America, pre-Thor.
You're right.
But yeah, I get what you're saying with it, where they went much grittier, and like with some movies it worked.
3.
Yeah, Winter Soldier was great.
Yes,
that was exactly what it needed to be,
because that was the source material.
Yeah, Thor 2 not so much. That still had its fun stuff in it, but like it felt like it was too gritty. And then it feels like Guardians of the Galaxy kind of came and saved the day a little bit with that.
It really did,
because like Age of Ultron still happened, and I liked Age of Ultron enough. But like, it feels like Guardians is what set the tone for going into Phase 3 now.
It also... So, Guardians of the Galaxy was an amazing movie. I want to put that out right now, including the sequel.
Do not consider it a superhero movie.
It is not a superhero movie. Guardians of the Galaxy aren't really superheroes.
No, it's just sci-fi movie, really.
But they're Marvel. They exist in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
And that's what makes them a superhero movie. And I'm doing air quotes. But Guardians of the Galaxy was so good... that it broke everything in film.
Everything had to try to be Guardians, and that's why we end...
Things outside of Marvel, outside of DC, has nothing to do with it. We're trying to be Guardians of the Galaxy.
I'm going to throw my 10th hot take of the night out and say that Guardians of the Galaxy is the only reason why Bohemian Rhapsody happened. If you followed Bohemian Rhapsody's evolution path all the way to the fish that crawled out of the water, it would be Guardians of the Galaxy, because that was where, like... They were like, what if old pop music was cool again?
Yes.
And everyone was like, yes. And then it like started with every movie had old pop songs in the trailers. And then now we're getting movies entirely about old pop songs.
It's true. Rip Rocket, man.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. And just in general, I feel like that's just what films were for a time. And like Suicide Squad happened.
Oof.
And that's entirely thanks to Guardians.
What makes a bad superhero movie? Suicide Squad. So before I don't want to dwell too much longer on this. I want to get into our lists. But before we go into that, I want to ask your opinion on the offshoot of the superhero movie that we're currently sort of like at the apex of, which is the supervillain movie.
Yes.
Because now we've gotten Venom, and we have Joker coming out next month, essentially.
Yeah.
In October. And so, like, it's kind of interesting that we've had our superhero movies, and now kind of like the villains are moving in.
It's true, and just to throw it in, the Maleficent remake movie redo.
That's not a supervillain
I know,
movie.
but just in general, like that, I feel like since Disney is all in its fingers and everything, was affected ultimately by this trend as well. And that's the only reason why I bring it up. My opinions of it is at least think it's an interesting alternative to still get a superhero themed film and not have the same setup. Break the formula a little bit and just not be the same. Whether or not these things will be the greatest thing ever, definitely not. And I don't think that ultimately it's gonna shatter anything. Exactly, it's not gonna stick. It's not gonna break trends or anything. But it's going to be a breath of fresh air for now. In the future, looking back, I might not care about it as much now. And then. As I don't really care about it that much now, but like I will care less in the future, definitely. But as of right now, at least it's not just another formula movie thrown down my throat.
And like I liked Venom. Like Venom was good,
did enjoy
but
Venom.
like Venom was it was like an anti-hero movie essentially. Venom's always been like on that line. Joker I think is going to be the first true like straight up this is a movie about a supervillain, because you can't do Joker as an anti-hero.
No.
And the trailers make it seem like the movie understands that and it's going to be about him as a villain. And so I'm curious to see how they do that. Maybe at some point we'll come back and we'll do an episode on supervillains and we'll talk about
maybe when
that.
the Jared Leto Joker movie comes out.
Oh God,
which
no!
They are still
are they still gonna make? No, please! I don't want to watch that one. Just get Jared Leto out of here.
Put him back in his band.
Dump it. This one's bad.
It's bad. Throw it out.
Throw it out. So. Now let's get into our lists.
Yes, so we did make lists of the movie, and we're gonna tie it into what we're talking about.
5 superhero movies.
The thing,
and there's gonna be a list in every episode.
Arbitrary numbered lists.
Mine is vaguely in order.
Well, mine's is not in order. I can't really, because I like them for different reasons. So just in no particular order. Watchmen, which I wrote in my notes as Watchman. Deadpool, Thor Ragnarok, Spider-Man Homecoming, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
That's a really good list. Do you want to give any reasons for the specific movies?
Watchmen is amazing. It for me was my first exposure to the Bad Things universe version of superheroes that I liked. That I don't want taken any farther. It's been done now and it's over.
Never needs to be taken any steps farther than Watchmen. Watchmen did it. It was great.
I'll pass. The Boys is an Amazon show that they're really trying to push right now as we film. Probably won't be remembered later in time. But so we all remember what it is. So it was really good. It presented it, but like, again, like we talked about before, those people really were trying to do the best they could in a world that wasn't great, and that's what made it good. And that's what makes them heroes in it, even though it's really shitty. Everything's really shitty. Deadpool, because that was the most true to... I will stand by that Deadpool and Deadpool 2 are the most comic book movies ever made.
I'll agree with you there.
And they take everything as it is. They're the only movie, including all the different X-Men movies we've had since the first trilogy, that mentions and explains that Juggernaut is A, not a mutant, and B, Professor Xavier's brother.
That's right.
The only movie that has acknowledged that fact, that is the fact in his character. They do pretty much everything, and like a lot of people do like Deadpool because it's like lol, XD, look into the camera, break the fourth wall, hee hee, and like that's very funny and all, but it's true to what it is, and every character that they bring up is the character. 100%. They don't cut corners for comedy. Those are just the characters. Like in the second movie when he makes his dumb team, like Shatterstar is a huge asshole. Like and it's true to the character. and that's why it's funny and it's good.
I'll watch the Deadpool movies as much for Colossus as I'm watching them for Deadpool.
Colossus is amazing, and that's Colossus. Yeah. That's how he is
in the comics.
That's the real character, and they just put him in a movie, and that's it. And that's why I like Deadpool, because it's the most true feeling.
Yeah.
Thor Ragnarok, also very true to the characters, and they went back to Thor 1 with now that Thor's been in several movies where it wasn't fun. And they had a fun movie with Thor.
Okay, it's still going. Never mind.
Panic averted. Yeah. We had a movie where he was able to go to space, and we saw a lot of cool stuff, and we got to interact with the world outside, and Thor had to interact with it, and it was interesting. He teamed up with the Hulk, which I think added so much to the movie, and really set me to think that Marvel team-up movies are better than Avengers movies and anything else. Just have a big universe where all these characters will interact 2 or 3 at a time, so we don't overcrowd like we did past X3. But we still get lots of interaction, and then when we finally get to these Avengers movies, we already everyone has a relationship that we don't have to go into in the Avengers movie and clog the whole movie.
Yeah.
So that's Thor Ragnarok. Spider-Man: Homecoming is the same deal. That's just Spider-Man. That's Spider-Man, and everything about it is very Spider-Man. I like that they didn't bother. We already know Spider-Man's origin. We didn't go into it.
Right.
And we got a Spider-Man movie, and we just focused on him as Spider-Man. And they went back to him being in high school. They didn't jump past that or ignore it. They used that. That's part of it. He has his friends. And they really utilized those side characters. Spider-Man in the comics ultimately does a lot of stuff on his own, but we get his internal dialogue, and that fills a lot of space. But you can't do that in a film.
Yeah.
And so we get a lot of it, him talking to his friends, which works very well.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it adds a lot to him as a person.
Yeah.
Adding Ned, I think, was huge. I think that was a great step in the right direction.
He was a great character. He apparently becomes Hobgoblin in the comics.
Yeah.
Who knows how that'll work?
Yeah, but he also wasn't nearly as important in the film. We'll see if that happens, though. It was like a brain control thing.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. And then Into the Spider-Verse, again, for the same reasons, but it was an animated film. And this is kind of just a side note. Animated films are art, and they should be made, and everyone is a big pussy for not doing it.
Yeah. 100%. Animated movies are the best form of cinema. That's it. Like, there's no other argument around that.
And like, especially with superheroes, you can make these really cool, funky looking animated things, and you can do more than you could with your live action movies. And like, this was it. We had old decrepit Spider-Man, but he was Spider-Man. That was Peter Parker.
Oh yeah,
that was older Peter Parker.
That was Tobey Maguire Peter Parker.
It was good, and it was awesome.
Oh yeah,
and it was a lot of fun, and it was Peter Parker. And he made his jokes. And he was Spider-Man. It was a good time.
Yeah.
Miles, perfect, amazing adaptation of Miles. Added to his character. Even better. Yeah. They made him better. I couldn't believe it. They don't do that. They usually subtract or leave it the same. They made Miles even better. Not to say anything bad about Miles before. He was already a great character, and they added more to him, and they gave him even more nuance and more interest. Like and like this added on. It was great. He's great. It was perfect. I love Miles. Miles is one of my favorite Spider-Man characters. I'm not a huge fan of Spider-Gwen in general, and I really liked her in that movie.
God, she was fantastic in that movie.
It was really good. I liked everything about her that they presented. They made her interesting. They made her new, and I just liked that. Spider-Man Noir is one of my... I liked Spider-Man Noir. They just made him really goofy and fun. It was Nick Cage, and that made it extra goofy and fun.
Oh, God,
and that was perfect. John Mulaney delivered really well with Spider-Ham, and then Penny Parker, great, perfect. So just in general, they added to these characters. I got to see them. Spider-Man, all the good stuff. Miguel O'Hara shows up in the post-credits.
Yes.
Amazing.
Fantastic. I agree with you on that. So my list, some of the movies are going to recur from mine to yours. My number 5, and mine is in a vague order, just in general of like how much I enjoy them. Number 5 for me I want to give one honorable mention first, which was Batman Mask of the Phantasm, which was so close. It was on the list. I had written it on the list, and then I remembered another movie, and I had to take it off to make room. But I really love that movie, and if you haven't seen it, it's a spin-off of Batman the Animated Series, and it is honestly, if not the greatest Batman movie of all time. Like, it deals with the character in a way that we haven't seen before. It's one of the only movies, I think, where I actually bought the Batman isn't a sane person thing. Because it didn't do it in an edgelord way. It did it in a tragic way, where there's this scene where he goes to his parents' grave and he breaks down because he wants to stop being Batman and actually settle down and have a life. And he is breaking down, crying, begging them to release him and give him the opportunity to stop being Batman. And that, I think, is one of the greatest things that's ever been done with that character. But the reason why there's no Batman movies on my list is because Mask of the Phantasm was the one and it didn't make it.
Rip.
So to completely spit in the face of anyone that is excited that I said that Mask of the Phantasm is really good and everything great I just said about it, to completely betray those people's trust, my number 5 is Hellboy, the original Hellboy.
Oh my God.
So
Here we are.
So Hellboy is on here for completely selfish reasons, because I love monsters and I love monster movies, and Hellboy is just the perfect superhero movie in my opinion. Hellboy is a great character. He's played so well. All of the concepts are so wild and out there, but they are given to you in Guillermo del Toro is one of my favorite, if not my absolute favorite director, and he has a way of feeding you asinine, ridiculous plots in a way where you accept them without questioning it.
I agree with that.
5 minutes into the first Hellboy, you're watching the Nazis attempt to bring an elder god into the universe, onto Earth in the middle of World War II, and you say to yourself, this probably happened. You're like, no, I accept, this is legit.